That's right, folks, the Batman is here, and ever since we saw it, I cannot shut up about it, so let's break it down. We're going to go through the movie element by element, starting with the main man himself and ending with his arch nemesis. There's time codes for the chapters in the description if you do want to jump around, and with that being said, one last spoiler warning, let's jump right in. So let's kick things up with the main guy, shall we? The Batman himself. I gotta say, I really like this Batman. I think they did a solid job with bringing the year 2 aspect of this version of the character to the screen, with him clearly being experienced enough to hold his own in Gotham's darker corners, while also still having his fair bit of nights ahead of himself in order to truly become the iconic version we'd expect from a Batman in his prime. I also really like how his fighting style was on the one side very quick with the rate of punches he was able to deliver, while also being rather brawly and unrefined with him just throwing fist after fist at his foes, not having mastered the precision that our classic Batman is known for. I'm also glad we got to see a bit of Bruce's mental state in this era, with him simultaneously having learned the power of striking fear in his enemies, while at the same time still suffering from his trauma to an extent where his self-described fearlessness borders on straight up depression. On a lighter note though, I also really enjoyed how the iconic grapple gun got to shine in this one, taking center stage as his preferred gadget of choice, with him not only using him to climb long stairways, but also for running down a friggin' building and utilizing it for combat. Speaking of combat, man, whatever that batsuit earns, it deserves a raise. To be honest, I'm a little on the fence about the extent to which it is bulletproof. I mean, of course, yes, it definitely should be, but I also think there should be some form of limit to that, and we didn't really get to see that. But I'm willing to forgive that for now. But what I'm definitely not willing to forgive is the outright lack of batarangs. I mean, come on guys, they're literally his go-to weapon. And no, I'm not counting that one time that he used his chest piece to cut that rope. Don't get me wrong, awesome moment and all, but that's no excuse for the missing batarangs. They're important. And while we're talking about missing things, I also would have liked for the utility belt to get some love. Doesn't have to be center stage, but one or two shots of him using it would have been nice. I don't know, maybe he could have stored the letters in there for example. I'm just saying, I would have appreciated it. But all in all, I really like this batsuit, also with the cowl. For me personally, the chin and ears are kind of important there, and I thought I might not be the biggest fan of this one, but actually seeing it in a movie, it kinda worked for me. Also, the suit leathery Batman mask felt very year 2. And I'd like to think that he's got some sort of reinforcements in there, but then again there was this one shot when he sort of pinched his thumb into it, so maybe it is just leather, I don't know. I also wasn't too excited about the collar around his neck at first, but again, within the movie, didn't mind it at all. Also actually, not entirely sure what these silver rods on his forearms are for, reinforcements I guess, but I kinda dig them as well. Another thing that worked very well for me was the wingsuit version of the Batcave. I don't know, it was kind of weird and the whole thing took a whole lot of work to set up, but again, that seems very year 2 and grounded in this definitely more realistic approach that the movie took. I think it could have done without the flying face shots though. I think those always look way better in your head than they actually do on screen, but that might just be me. I absolutely loved him crashing into the bridge though, that was awesome. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, one last thing about the suit and gadgets. I really love the lenses. They're kind of sci-fi, but to me it makes a lot of sense that after a long night of investigation, Bruce has to sit down and somehow keep track of everything that he's seen. And that juxtaposed to his Bat Journal and Bat Pen on the other hand, is kind of a fun choice. Okay, let's move on to some vehicles. We got 2 this time around, the Bat Bike and the Batmobile. And I gotta say, I really like them both. I mean, the bike is pretty much just a bike with bat ears, but again, I think it's fine for this early stage version of the character. The Batmobile on the other hand, it's got a friggin' jet turbine on its back. How awesome is that? To me, the car itself felt a lot like a regular tuned car, but overall, I think I really liked it. And after the Tumbler we get in the Nolan series, I think this is a nice step into a more grounded Batmobile. In general, I think they took an interesting approach with Gotham and the overall setting of the film. For one, we get this time blend where a lot of the movie felt like it took place in a more classic era of Gotham, but then mixed in, we got these modern day elements. For example, people were having social media, and again, the bat lenses. I also really appreciated the focus on Batman as a detective here, and I think they did a good job with keeping the story from getting too complicated. It's always a bit tough to set a detective story that takes place on a bigger scale in modern day, since the internet would solve a lot of classic detective drama problems, but I think they put it to good use here, with the Riddler accumulating a small following on TikTok of all places. I don't know, I thought it was kind of fun. And I think this sort of plan goes for Gotham itself as well. I like how they made an effort to create a Gotham that does in places feel like classic Gotham, with high old-timey buildings and gargoyles and whatnot. Then again, we also got some modern day city shots. I never really cared much for those, but I guess they do ground the picture a little bit, so I guess I don't mind. Okay, let's move on to some characters. Alfred. Loved him. Would have loved to see more of him. He left kind of early in the story, but at least they made good use out of him while he was there. Gordon. Man, Jeffrey Wright is a super solid Gordon. He was great. I also loved how they used him to show Batman's relationship with the police, with him on the one hand being allowed on crime scenes, while on the other also literally having one of his most dangerous scenes being his escape from the Gotham police station. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Gordon. Selina Kyle alias Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz definitely took some inspiration from Halle Berry, but in a good kind of way. All in all, I think she was a super solid Catwoman, and I think she did a great job selling those 3 romantic scenes she got with Batman. So good on you, Zoe Kravitz. The Penguin. Okay, first off, I will never not be amazed by this friggin' makeup. Like for real, it's insane. But I also love what Colin Farrell did with the character. Definitely want to see him fill the power vacuum in Gotham's underworld. Oh, and shout out to the Penguin waddle moment. Whoever figured out how to put that into the movie definitely deserves some recognition. The Riddler. Okay, now for the big guns. Man, Paul Dano is such a delight as a creep, honestly. And even though I'm not too sure how Riddler his last scene was, but it was kind of satisfying to see his utter disappointment that Batman was not on his side. The Joker. Were you surprised that he was in there? Because honestly, I was. I mean, after Joaquin Phoenix, I thought they would let the Joker stand on his own for a bit, but I guess we gotta capitalize on that success, don't we? But for real, I'm a bit on the fence with this one. I mean, I'm sure Barry Keoghan will do a great job with him and all, but I really enjoyed how we got a bigger rogues gallery here, and I would have liked to see that continued, and I'm worried that the Joker might steal the limelight in an upcoming project. But we'll see, I guess. There's ways to make this work. Overall, I had a really good time with this one, and I would love to see this Batman's journey continue. I think Matt Reeves did a solid job directing, and we also got some nice cinematography shots, especially during the car chase scene, and I really dig the new Batman theme by Michael Giacchino.
Wait a minute!
What did he say?
Michael Giacchino.
Hi there, I'm Michael Giacchino.
In terms of influences, I think Reeves clearly took up some strong ones, with Batman Year 2 and a bit of Long Halloween for the detective angle. But I also was pleasantly surprised to find some Hush in there, and I think this would be a really good direction going forward. Building on the Martha Arkham reveal and having Batman confronted with his not too stable side and combining that with Joker's outright insanity could be fun. Especially if we can get Paul Dano's Riddler back for some war of jokes and riddles action. But what do you guys think? Did you like this version of the Batman? What would you like to see in a sequel? Leave us your thoughts in the comments, and if you liked that video, we'd love to welcome you in the Canon Cosmic family. That's all we got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time when we enter the Cosmic of your favorite canon. Oh, I like that one. Goodbye!